Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's meeting of Full Council. Welcome also to those members of the press and public who are joining us via the live stream. Before we begin, please can I take this opportunity to remind member and officer colleagues to turn their mobile phones to silent and to ensure that when addressing the meeting, they speak directly into the microphones, ensuring the red light is on. Moving now to agenda item 1. Can I ask member services to report any apologies for absence, please?
Yes, we've had apologies from councillors Connor, Foyce-Beard, Hicks and Humphrey.
Thank you. Agenda item 2. The minutes of the meeting held on 21st of July 2025 are shown on pages 3 to 8 of the agenda pack. I would like to move approval of the minutes. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Burden. Members, if you have any comments, then please raise your hand. Okay. No hands have been raised, therefore the minutes have been approved. Yeah. For information, you will find at pages 9 to 10 of the agenda pack a list of civic engagements the Vice Chairman and I have attended in the weeks preceding Full Council. Agenda item 4. Unfortunately, I must begin my announcements today with the sad news about the recent passing of former councillor Barry Howlett. Barry represented the March East Ward of Fenland District Council from the 7th of June 2001 until the 3rd of May 2007. As a member of Fenland District Council, Barry sat on the Planning Committee and was also a member of the Twinning Association. I would like to offer the Council's sincere condolences to Barry's friends and loved ones at this very sad time and ask that you join me in a minute's silence to commemorate his life. Thank you. On a lighter note, I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible at my civic reception, which will take place at Gorefield Community Hall and Sports Centre from 6:30 this Friday. Also, as a reminder, my coffee morning in aid of damsons will take place here in this chamber from 10 a.m. on the 23rd of October. There are no announcements from the Chief Executive today. Agenda item 5 is to receive any declarations of interest under the local Code of Conduct or any interest under the Code of Conduct on planning matters in respect of any items to be discussed at this meeting. If you have anything to declare, please can you raise your hand? Right, thank you. Those councillors who have declared an interest.
Thank you, Chair. Just to declare an interest in item 12 on the agenda, the declaration regarding members' allowances. So at that point, I will leave the chamber for that particular item.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mrs. Friend.
Thank you, Chair. I also am in receipt of a special responsibility allowance from the combined authority, so I will be leaving the meeting at that point.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Councillor Mrs Finch.
Yes, thank you. Agenda item 8, the motion, I believe, is a member of the planning committee. I will not take part.
Councillor Murphy.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm exactly the same one that I approached the motion with an open mind due to my position on the planning committee, and I will not take a part in this debate or vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marks. Same. Thank you. Councillor Benny.
Thank you, Chairman. I will abstain for the vote on the CPCA because I received for the an allowance for being on the skills committee, and I will leave the room when we discuss planning.
Thank you. Councillor Purser. It's okay. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Taylor. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, planning. Lord, Councillor Laws. Thank you. Councillor Kirsten. Planning. Thank you. Councillor Meekins. Any more? Councillor Maclean. Thank you. Councillor Patrick. Okay, thank you. Councillor Nawaz.
Yeah, it's more a point of information, please, Chair. I thought that applied only to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee and Audit and Governance Committee at the county level, or CPCA. Now, I am on the Health Scrutiny CPCA. Does it apply to me? No. Thank you very much.
Any more? Okay, thank you.
Can we just check member services or capital?
Here you darling. Okay, that's all been captured, thank you. There have been no written questions submitted in accordance with Rule 8.6, and we will therefore proceed straight to questions under Rule 8.4. Councillor Booth, you may now ask questions of the leader within the allotted time of 20 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've got one question for the leader. With the recent resignation of Councillor Celia Clough, who was chair of the Arts Advisory Body, and the fact that she was the main proponent for this Fenland flag competition, what is going to happen with regards to that?
Councillor Bowden.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman. I don't know, but consideration will be given to that and members will be advised as soon as possible.
Right, well, if I can suggest that maybe we get rid of this silly idea of competition and maybe adopt the existing flag that's used by so many businesses and residents, that would be my preference. Obviously, the motion was in the last 6 months, but I guess we'll get to that point when we cross it.
Thank you. Councillor Bowden.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Fortunately, from the point of view of this council, I'm not a dictator, so I don't actually make these decisions. I have to consult with my group and with others in order to come to a decision on various things. This is an example where I will seek advice from various members, and then once a decision is made, you'll be informed.
No more questions, Chair.
No other questions? Thank you. Agenda item 7. In accordance with Procedure Rule 8.1, members will find the portfolio holders briefing report at pages 11 to 66 of the agenda pack. Procedure Rule 8.2 permits questions to Cabinet members about any matter which falls within their portfolio responsibilities, and members are reminded that there is a total time allocation of 1 hour for this item. No questions? Okay. Sorry, councillor Booth?
Yep. Question for Councillor Laws. It's regarding update on the local plan. There's not much of an update. I believe it's page 31 of the report pack, not 31 page 31 of the pack. Just trying to find the number. But it now confirms that we've got a Gypsy Traveller Needs Housing Assessment in place, which I've been saying we've needed for some time. Are we going to publicise that more widely, particularly with the parish and town councils? And also, we've still not got any idea of when we're going to be delivering the local plan. It's given no timescales, which I did ask, I think, at the last meeting I was here. So we've had several months gone forward. It's getting on for a year. It will be by the time next meeting, since the government published its revised MPPF and guidance, and we are going forward at a snail's pace. Will we actually get a local plan in place by the time of local government reorganisation or not? Can you commit to that?
Councillor Laws?
Thank you, Councillor Booth, for your question. Not unexpected, I will hasten to add. So I've obviously prepared a statement, and then I'd like to follow on with something else. Unlike many councils, Finland has a 6.6 year housing and land supply, well in excess of government's 5-year target, and has consistently overperformed on housing delivery in recent years. This really demonstrates that we have of planning policies and are a very pro-growth council. The local government review, LGR, process proposed by central government, which if implemented will see Finland merge with a number of other local councils, has this necessity we consider how future planning policies should be best progressed, including our new local plan. We will continue to keep this under review as the LGR, scheduled to be implemented in full by April 1st, 2028, progresses to ensure that the best and most cost-efficient outcome for Fenland residents. There will be a one way or another, a new local plan covering Fenland area. The method and times of this depends upon whether or not local government reorganisation goes ahead. This we don't really know and have confidence in at the moment. Either way, I will make an announcement at Full Council in December explaining how and when a new call for sites will be initiated. That's to do with the local plan. In regard to the new policy, this is going to be circulated to all parish and local council, town councils as well. So they will have an up-to-date policy for travellers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Move on to agenda item 8. Item 8 on the agenda is a motion on notice from Councillor Taylor, which appears at pages 67 to 68 of the agenda pack. Before we proceed,
Entirely clear and interested in that. I didn't at the beginning, but I own some land in Bath, so as a landowner, I'll declare an interest.
okay, thank you. Before we proceed with these items, members will note that an updated version of the motion has been printed out and placed on desks. With the agreement of Councillor Taylor, Councillor Summers has proposed the alterations shown as track changes in that document. In accordance with Standing Order 12.7, a member may alter a motion with the consent of the meeting. The meeting's consent will be signified without discussion. Is this agreed? Agreed, thank you. Councillor Taylor, please move your motion as now altered. You have 5 minutes to present the motion and say anything you wish about it. Your next opportunity to speak will be when summing up.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Councillor Summers, for adding a couple of pieces into this. But since January the 1st this year to June the 1st this government have spent £649 million of our money by having wind turbines switched off. And the reason that these turbines are being switched off is that the national grid is at capacity. So you're paying to have these turbines switched off and not producing electricity. And when you see the volume of turbines that are switched off, it begs the question of why do we need solar? If the turbines are turning constantly and can't keep up, then yes, I agree, let's have a look at an alternative. But when turbines are being switched off and you're paying extra money to have them switched off, then why do we need another energy supply on top of that? And this is all done in the name of net zero. Labour, in their original manifesto, stated that your energy bills would be £200–300 cheaper, when indeed the price cap has increased by another 2% from next month. And the National Grid have stated that that is quite simply to afford to pay to have turbines switched off and not operating. They've also stated that a lot of these solar farms, wind farms, etc., are actually built in the wrong place to get power to where it is indeed needed. And we all use extension leads at times, and we know that if you use a really long extension lead, the power is less at the end of the plug. And that works exactly the same with wind and solar. You can have the storage facilities, but if you can't get it from the storage to where it is needed, complete waste of time. They are building them in complete and utter wrong locations. So, to the actual wording of the motion, that an increasing number of planning applications, both locally and nationally, have been submitted to local planning authorities seeking permission to convert agricultural land to solar farms. Current national planning regulations are currently not strong enough, so far as solar farm applications are concerned, and do not give enough weight to the importance of the agricultural land which is lost each time a solar farm is developed. It is well established that the UK needs to become less dependent on overseas food imports. Food security as a concept is supported by government. However, in practice, national planning regulations fail to directly and specifically reorganise the importance of food security when new solar farms are proposed. Government policy to protect the best and most versatile land, BMV, agricultural land from significant, inappropriate or unsustainable development, proposals need to be significantly improved to ensure adequate protections for BMV agricultural land from conversion to other uses, particularly solar. This is a nationwide issue, but is of particular relevance to the Fens, generally as Fenland, because our area has the greatest concentration of BMV agricultural land in the country. The agricultural land is graded using the Agricultural Land Clarification, the ALC, which divides agricultural land into 5 grades, from grade 1, excellent, to grade 5, which is very poor. So to try and simplify that, grade 1 is soil that is very, very similar to a bag of compost when you open it. It's light, it will grow most things, but it doesn't hold a lot of moisture. Grade 2 is the same with compost, but with some clay added, so it holds a little bit of moisture. Grade 3 is predominantly clay land, and obviously 4 and 5 is worse and worse. Now this year, with this so-called drought, I think it's just summer. That's what it's basically been this year. It's just started a month early. That our grade 2 and our grade 3 land that stores water within the clay system has actually saved the country this year. Our wheat and barley crops have done well. They've not outperformed, but they haven't been a disaster. They have saved the bacon of this area for sure. So this year, when you're eating Weetabix, biscuits, whatever, or even going down the pub for a pint, you can thank our grade 2 and grade 3 land this year that has actually given us a crop. But to promote food security in this country, there needs to be an enhanced national planning policies leading to a better balance between approving planning applications and providing the higher grade BMV food producing land. So Fenland District Council believes that the current national planning system fails to give adequate protection against inappropriate development of BMV, that the better protection of BMV agricultural land is essential if we as a country are to improve our food security, that a better balance is required in the national planning system between the development and the protection of BMV agricultural land from inappropriate development. Fenland District Council therefore resolves to write to the Secretaries of State for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, Housing, Communities and Local Government, Energy Security and Net Zero, and to the Ministers of State for Housing and Planning, Food Security and Rural Affairs, and enclosing a copy of this motion and a calling upon them to amend current national planning guidance and practice so as to prevent approval for any further ALC Grade 1 agricultural land to be converted to the use of solar farm, to create a presumption against approval for any further ALC Grade 2 or Grade 3 agricultural land to be converted to the use of solar. To write to Stephen Barclay MP advising of this motion, and to write to the following media organisations advising them of this motion. And you can see there is a little bit of a list there, but I'm going to be really kind to member services and I will email them the add-ons to that as well, because there is quite a few more to go on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for the proposal? Thank you, Councillor Tierney. You can reserve the right to speak at the end of the debate or at the time of seconding the motion. Do you wish to speak now?
I reserve my right, please, Chairman.
Thank you. The item is open for discussion and members are reminded that they are able to speak once. Councillor Summers.
Just to thank Councillor Taylor for agreeing to the amendments, and I support the protection of the MV.
Sorry. Councillor Booth.
So just point of order there, we've got the motion before us, but Councillor Taylor said there's some add-ons to the list of media. Surely that has to be pointed out as part of this conversation. We can't just have add-ons to media outlets later on. It needs to be told to this council because that's the motion we're voting on.
Why don't you invite Councillor Taylor to list the additional outlets? Right. Councillor Taylor, could I ask you to say what the add-ons are going to be that aren't actually in the motion?
You most certainly can, Madam Chair. Yes, if I could remember them all off the top of my head, so I'll be brief. So there is Farmers to Action, one adding in. This one's going to sound quite crude, but you'd really write it down the way it's said, and that is the F in Farmer. That's another big group that's on the go. Pro Farmers United, Catherine Blakelock, and to Rupert Lowe MP, please.
Thank you. Councillor Booth.
Thank you, Chair. I just think it's important that we know exactly what we're voting on, so we need to have the full list. We can't have a list sent in afterwards. I think, in principle, I'm going to be supporting this motion. Obviously, there was a lot of preamble added about wind farm that we could get into a big conversation about energy security, but I don't think that's what we're here to discuss. We're talking about land security. I think one thing that is worth noting about food security is that this country hasn't been self-sufficient since, I think, the mid-18th century. Any historians would know, because I think it was the pre-industrial revolution was when we were last fully self-sufficient. I think currently we produce about 60% of our food. Obviously, it's an aim we should get to be food security and having that, but I think it's going to be a long time coming, particularly as we haven't managed to achieve that 200 years. But yeah, I'll support this.
Thank you. Councillor Christie.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So thank you to Councillor Taylor for bringing this to our attention. It's a very important matter for Fenland. The only concern I've got with this motion is I personally feel it's not strong enough, is the words I would use in there. And that relates really to an all-party joint letter that was sent to the Prime Minister earlier this year. And I think our motion should be calling for the same sorts of things. They're much stronger words, and they're calling for an unequivocal ban on large area solar installations on best and most versatile agricultural land. So that's, as Councillor Taylor described, grades 1, 2 and 3A. Also, they're calling for, in the light of the likely reduction of BMV land as a result of climate change, inclusion of ALC grade 3B in the BMV category. And finally, a policy promoting a rooftop first and brownfield first approach to siting solar installations at local, regional and national levels. I think those to me are things that would be much more stronger as words to be able to take. And also I think in terms of adding who we should take that letter to, it should also include the Prime Minister, and we should be supporting the cross-party MPs, which includes our local MPs, which are calling for that motion. It also puts us on the same playing field and the same level as what's being called for, and so we're not going to be confusing anybody making any decisions about what we're asking for here. So I'm not quite sure the protocol behind it, but I think we should make this motion a lot stronger than it currently is. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Counts.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I hadn't intended to speak on this. It was a very straightforward matter of looking at this. It all made sense, including the add-ons, which are very, very helpful. And thinking, yes, that's straightforward. I'm a big proponent of, supporter of green energy, of wind farms, of solar farms, but this makes sense, you know, that agricultural land should be protected. But I did want to stand up when Councillor Taylor started speaking, because I was shocked to the core of what I was hearing. Up to £900 million being spent to turn wind turbines off was just, I couldn't believe it. So whilst Councillor Taylor was speaking, I was busy Googling it. ChatGPT, other versions are available, is very useful. And I was shocked, absolutely shocked to find that was correct. £1 billion of our money spent last year turning wind turbines off. So the wording behind that was because of capacity grid constraints. So I thought I'll look a bit further. When will we get to the point where the grid can handle this? And it actually won't, because it's not actually just the capacity, it's the wind speed. When it goes from 25 to 35 miles per hour, they turn it off because there's too much fluctuation. So this is a permanent, ingrained problem with wind turbines that we will be paying for forevermore. For my entire life since wind turbines have arrived, I've looked out my window and seen them, we see them all over the fence, and I felt a real sense of warmth at thinking that they sit there. I know a lot of people find them ugly, I don't. Sit there and think that they generate electricity pretty much for free is the way to go. And to learn something like this today really hurt my feelings, you know. But facts are facts and you can't get away with them. Now, I'm not too concerned because I know what's been built, and I know there might be places where it's more suitable, where they're closer to delivering without going through a substation that maybe can't cope. But at the end of the day, this is about prime land. And I had the privilege, as many of you know, leading the county council for a while, and I was very proud of what we did there with building solar farms. We built quite a few. It delivered great savings to the taxpayer. But when we wrote the policy, I was absolutely insistent. We wrote in there, never on grade 1 agricultural land. And we had that enshrined in there. Now, I don't know if that still is policy there today. I haven't led it for a little while. And of course, we know that there are some people who believe in net zero at all costs, at any cost. And I don't agree with that approach. I think we have to take a measured approach to most of the challenges that face us these days. One of the measured approaches we've got to talk about is food security. Now, the food security is an issue, and I take on board what Councillor Booth said, that we haven't had 100% food security since the 18th century. When you have a problem, even if it's gone on for 200 years, you don't say, well, we'll allow it to get worse, because that doesn't really matter, because we've never been able to do with it. You actually say, we have a problem, let's not make it get any worse. And I've got to say, whilst for maybe 10, 20 years, we've been living in a world where you had that sense of security that perhaps nothing would reach the UK, we now live in a world we really should have woken up earlier and thought long and hard about all of our security issues. Energy, which got mentioned, food, things like the chips that we found out during COVID, that we have no manufacturing capacity for them, which could, on the other side of the planet in Taiwan, suddenly affect us all. So it's absolutely vital that we do address matters such as this. Now, there's an old farmer's saying, and I'm not one of them, but there is an old farmer saying, you can't grow any more land. And that's true. You can't grow any more land. You cannot reinvent grade 1 land elsewhere. You can add fertilizers, you can add nutrients, but we have the perfect soil for growing, and it's important that we try and protect it. I especially appreciated the widening of the brief to say that the appropriate, planning should be used appropriately to protect the land from inappropriate development, because it's not just energy. What happens when somebody makes a great case for a 100,000 square metre distribution plant on grade 1 agricultural land? There has to be that widening of the clause so somebody doesn't skirt around the edges and we're suddenly losing it that way. And the one that comes to mind for me, because we all live here in the Fens, is that continued belief that re-wetting of the wild fens will bring us down to net zero. Some people out there are promoting flooding the area, losing all our grade 1 agricultural land, because it will somehow help the planet with net zero. And that is unrealistic, and this would help deal with matters than that. I know we're going to have to work within the NPPFs and the future coming ones, and one of the most useful clauses at the end, introduced by Councillor Summers to add to this, was that one that within our means, we as a local people would do all the writing to the other people. The fact we had to hear the long list when it will be in the public domain after this debate and could be sent to anybody, I'm not quite sure, because it can fly out to anyone here, but actually that widening so that we can do what is in our power within the framework as well as writing to other people. So I support this, and I must say thank you for awakening something in me that was pretty, didn't have that depth of knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hoy.
Yes, thank you. So I do want to actually speak about energy security, because I think often a number of people, and even I have to say myself actually, have been, I think, scared to say what they've been thinking for a long time, because everyone's kind of scared of this sort of cancel culture and, you're going to look bad. But I actually don't care anymore. I think now is the time to say, and I do actually think net zero is a complete scam. I think it's always been a scam. I think we've always been terrified to say it, because everyone's saying, oh, well, think of the future. And if you don't think of the future, if you don't care about net zero, you don't care about the future. Well, actually, the future we're currently leaving for people is everyone is going to get colder and poorer. It's okay to be a billionaire, and you can say on, the internet that you're really terrified about net zero while getting your private jet everywhere and paying some token amount because you feel that's kind of cleared your conscience. You can afford to pay ridiculously high energy bills, but people can't afford to pay these prices of energy bills, and everyone keeps blaming Russia and Ukraine and all of this other stuff. The simple truth is we have subsidised for years ridiculous things that don't work, turbines that don't turn. It's ridiculous, and everyone's been so terrified to say anything because they're thinking, oh, you can't be anti-net zero, you can't be anti-green. Well, I'm sorry, but the world is getting worse, and it's because of decisions that we have made in the past and things that we've been too scared to say. And we can't carry on like that. And this is the latest thing, you know, we're going to say that we're not growing in our own country anymore because it's cheaper to import it. So we're going to import it on a plane, which again uses fossil fuels. And it's not adding up. Everything that the politicians are saying to us on a national level is not adding up anymore. And I don't want to speculate and kind of go on this sort of conspiracy theory. Believe me, I could be here for a long time if I was. But something is not right to be telling us on the one hand, you know, the world is going to end in a few years' time unless we reduce carbon emissions, and then paying to import food from other countries on aeroplanes that give out carbon emission does not seem right to me. It just doesn't add up. So I think I absolutely support this, and I actually wish we would go further as a council. I know, obviously, we're always nervous because we're surrounded by a number of other authorities that perhaps think net zero is the most important thing in the world. I know, obviously, we've taken a more sceptical approach in this council, but I think it's actually maybe the time to go even harder now, because I think people have just had enough of this. People can't afford to keep paying these ridiculous bills, and we need to be honest as to the reasons for them.
Thank you. Councillor Garner, please. Sorry, Councillor Carney.
Look at me. I think absolutely, it's, obviously I support this motion. I think the important thing to remember is that at this point in time, the power does lie within the hands of the local planning authority, local planning committee. And just a quick look at the words, news article from last year, remember, July 2024, South Western District Council 43 hectare solar farm, citing the exact same reasons what we were talking about today, and that was actually backed up by Lincolnshire County Council. Now, whether that was actually got through on appeal, I'm not aware that it has, but the point remains that our local planning committee should, as Councillor Count mentioned, take a measured approach and approach each one as and when they come in. I would actually like to sort of think that generally, from a planning point of view, is that whether, you know, to sort of, if it's so necessary to have solar panels, solar farms, Councillor Christie mentioned brownfield sites. Now, I'd actually say, why not have it that nationally or locally, any sort of large-scale building scheme, such as warehouses, supermarkets, anything that's got a large roof space, either through encouragement or make it compulsory, whichever. I'd rather go through the encouragement route, actually say, have them fitted with solar panels and have them feed into a local generating network. I mean, that probably might be one way around it, sort of thing. But certainly, at this point in time, we should be able to actually control the destiny of it. And just to cut back to the South West District Council, they're not on grade 1 land, but they sort of cited it as grade 2, grade 3 farmland, and they said it's rare. In other words, it's productive land, and as it's been mentioned before, you can't make any more of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? No? Councillor Tierney, would you like to exercise your right to speak?
Yes, please, Chairman. Obviously, as I'm seconding it, I do support this this motion. I'm a free marketeer, and I believe that if you let free markets free to run and don't control them and don't try and change the way they work and manipulate them, I believe they deliver good results. They need a little help, but they deliver good results. And my problem with turbines, windmills, and solar panels is that if all the subsidies were removed, and I mean all the subsidies, not just the obvious ones, but the hidden ones where energy producers are forced to buy a certain amount of green energy. If you removed all of those and let them compete fair and square, nobody would ever invest and ever build turbines or solar panels, except very few specialist circumstances. You just wouldn't see them. They wouldn't exist. They only exist because governments, and I'm in the previous government too, have made this terrible, stupid, blind policy of net zero. I believe the second most dangerous thing facing the country, only after the challenge to freedom of speech. So I think probably it's the thing I'm most concerned about after that. And I do think that the previous government, the Conservative government, and now this new government, I think are all following the same stupid path. I agree with everything Councillor Hoy said. It is just so damaging for us to remove our fantastic growing land and the ability to produce the food we need and our farmers to do the good work they do, and to replace it with energy generation that would never be built without the fudges that are put in by the government, would never be built. So I have been saying this for a long time. I enjoyed Councillor Count's comments, although I was telling him all of that 15 years ago. And I also enjoyed Councillor Booth's comments, because Councillor Booth's a Lib Dem, but it was a good, sensible approach. I know they feel differently about this to us, but a good, solid approach he took, as always. So hopefully we can all get some agreement on this, because whether or not you agree with me that net zero is damaging, I think we can all agree that we need our farmland to produce the way it should. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor, would you like to sum up?
Thank you very much, everybody, and I do like a good debate. So I'm just going to cover a little bit about this net zero and where people are saying the scam is coming from. Believe it or not, these solar farms and the solar panels, the steel is imported from Turkey. The panels themselves are imported from China on ships that use approximately 20,000 litres of diesel per hour, and that is called net zero. Now, I'm no scientist, but that just doesn't add up to me. But we've also been playing with some certain figures, obviously not myself, I've had some serious advice on this, and if the whole of the EU was 100% net zero from 2020, by 2050, the climate would be 0.02 degrees warmer, almost an unmeasurable amount. By the turn of the century, we would be 1 degree warmer if the whole of the EU was net zeroed from 2020, at the cost of trillions of pounds for something which we all know. We can all push for it, we can all go net zero, but we cannot simply achieve it. When you're bringing items in from abroad, whether that be solar panels, steel for solar panels, or even your food, they all come in by something that is using fossil fuel or diesels, whatever. It's a completely unachievable thing. But I do thank everybody for the comments, and hopefully for the people that's going to support this. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. We will now move to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? Any abstentions? I now call upon Member Services to announce the outcome.
So there's 31 for, 6 abstentions. 31 for and 6 abstentions. The motion is agreed. Agenda item 9. The next item on the agenda is the Audit and Risk Management Committee Annual Report, which can be found on pages 69 to 80. I will now call upon Councillor Miss French as Chair of the Audit Committee to present the report.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is a presentation of the annual report of the Audit and Risk Management Committee for year 24-25. The purpose of this report is to inform Council of the activities undertaken by the committee throughout the year. The committee acts as the audit committee on behalf of the Council. The purpose of the committee, set out in the terms of reference, is to provide independent review and oversight of Fenland District Council's governance, risk management and internal control frameworks, and oversees the financial reporting and annual governance processes. This annual report seeks to demonstrate how it has discharged its responsibilities as an audit committee. It details what reports have been presented and reviewed by committee members. It shows the attendance of each committee member over the 5 meetings held during the year. And it shows the areas within the work programme that is covered throughout the year and its findings for each. For 24-25, it looked at the annual governance statement for 23-24, reviewing the assurance of the Council's governance position and the content of the statement before it was publicly released. The work of our internal audit function, the reviewing of its charter, the annual plan, its performance and the overall opinion of the audit manager. Our risk management framework, updates on the risk register have been received at each committee meeting together with a review of the risk management strategy. Policies. Committee has reviewed and approved 3 policies considered to enhance our anti-fraud and internal control position, whistleblowing, corporate debt and risk management. Treasury management, receiving reports throughout the year on topical treasury areas and receiving assurance that our assets are managed accordingly to CIFR's Code of Practice. External audit, again receiving reports from the external auditors Ernst & Young, including the statement of accounts and their annual report for 22-23 and 23-24. Finally, you will note also that the committee has carried out the self-assessment exercise against the CIFR effectiveness checklist to ensure that it is acting according to best practice and to identify areas in which it can improve. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Booth. Do you wish to exercise your right to speak now or later?
Later, Chair.
Thank you. The item is now open for debate. Questions? Okay. Seconder, would you like to speak now?
Nothing further to add. I think the chair of the committee has adequately summarised everything. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Miss Finch, would you like to sum up?
Nothing else to add. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 69 of the agenda pack and is for full council to agree the Audit and Risk Management Committee annual report for 2024 to 2025. Is that agreed? Yes, thank you. Agenda item 10. Item 10 is a request to approve the procurement of HGV vehicles as part of the ongoing fleet replacement plan. The report can be found on pages 81 to 86 of the agenda. I will now call upon Councillor Tierney as portfolio holder with responsibility for recycling and refuse collection to present the report.
Thank you, Chair. I won't read the whole report to you. I know you've all read it, but I'll just sum up a few points. One of the most important functions of this council is refuse collection, and also one of the most well respected. I know many of you will have had residents tell you that we do such a good job, and of course that's our officers and our staff that do that. And I think they deliver a great job. But because of that, we have to run HGVs, and we have 20 HGVs that this council is managing. And those HGVs do not last forever. And we do our best to run them for as long as we can to make sure that the best value is given to the taxpayer. So the average time for these HGVs tends to be 10 years. Some of the smaller ones can go as long as 15 years. Given the amount of work and miles that they do, that's a long time to run them. And we think we do well eking the best value we can out of them. But what this agenda item seeks to do is to get your permission to allow the relevant officers to take the decisions to re-procure the new equipment as is needed with consultation with the portfolio holder. Now, of course, you can look and you can see there's quite a lot of money involved. That's because these machines do not come cheap. They take 12 months on average to procure. It's muddied a little bit by the fact that we might have local government reform. So I just want to stress, we don't pay for these when we order them. They can be paid for later. So it doesn't necessarily affect our books. And if the government changes and the council changes, so those responsibilities will be passed forwards. But it is our job to put everything in place so that we get those new machines when we need them before we start having failures of the old machines, because that would dramatically affect how our residents receive the service, which is such an important service. So I hope you all think that there's good value here, and I hope you'll all support this, and any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gerstner. A question. Okay. Are you seconding, Councillor Gerstner?
Oh, I'm questioning.
Right. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Miscandlin. Thank you. Would you like to exercise your right to speak now or at the end? At the end. Thank you. Councillor Gerstner.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Excellent report, thank you. A couple of questions I may have missed in the report. Are these vehicles, they don't all come on stream at once, they've been staggered quite naturally. Are they being procured in the UK? Are they UK sourced and built? Thank you.
Well, what we're doing is we're giving the officers the right to decide how we buy them with consultation with me as a portfolio holder. So I would be preempting to say exactly what they were going to do at the moment, because we're just giving them the decision-making power. If what you're saying is you would like a steer to try and do that, then I'm sure we'd be happy to pass it on to officers. But the most important thing for us is to make sure we get the machines and the vehicles in a timely fashion and at the best cost we can, so that doesn't affect the taxpayer as much. Thank you.
I fully understand and I appreciate that, but given the fact we've just had 99% of solar panels built in China, 99% of wind turbines built in Europe, okay, it would be a good thing for this council to be seen to, providing the costings are competitive, to look at UK suppliers. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. And broadly, I'd agree with that. I like to try and source from home. I'm sure the officers have heard what you've said and will take that as a steer to do what they can to make that possible. But I stress again, the important thing for us is delivery and price for the taxpayer. But if that's possible to do more locally, then I think that would be a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just a brief comment. I support 100% the acquisition, and keeping the fleet up to date is absolutely essential. My only comment is I do not see any mention in there, and I hope it's deliberate, that we're not looking at the electrical route, which I just feel is not appropriate, is not the way we should be looking at. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. So I can assure you that if the things that they bring to me as a portfolio holder were electric vehicles, I would look at them with a very askance view. But I doubt that will be possible because the costs are quite different, and I don't see that as being likely. But I mean, we've got to keep an open mind, can't prejudge anything, but I think they're very unlikely. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Booth.
Thank you, Chair. The report appears to say to us that these are replacement costs. Now, I recall when I first joined this council, we actually used to lease, I think, our garbage vehicles. How comes we sort of moved away from that, and has any consideration been given to setting up leasehold agreements or not?
Well, that's a bit before my time as portfolio holder, so you could perhaps address the that question later on to the original portfolio holder who's got a lot of knowledge in that. My guess would be, and I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, that it was probably more cost effective to do it that way. So that's normally the reason decisions are taken. I personally quite like owning our own stock rather than hiring it where possible, so I think that's a positive thing anyway. But if that worked out cheaper for the new machines, then I'm sure officers will make that advice. They'll be free to look at the things they want to look at and then make the suggestions they think are best for the council.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs French.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I fully support this. I remember many years ago, and I'm talking about many years ago, we had broken down vehicles and we didn't have a collection over the Christmas period. And I'm talking of more than 15 years, and I'm sure Councillor Murphy can... we did make a decision years ago that we would never ever let our vehicles get into such an appalling state. So yes, I fully support this.
Thank you. Councillor Booth, did you want to come back?
Yeah, it was just a comment to say, I think when I asked the question why we leased vehicles in the past, I'm sure I was told that it was the most financially prudent way of doing it. So I guess what we need to do is just, as you said before, keep an open mind, get the most cost-effective way of ensuring we've got the fleet of vehicles we need for our area.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Booth, and I agree with you. I'm sure, again, officers have heard. They are absolutely welcome to suggest whatever they think the right way as a cost-effective and delivery method is the most suitable. And I'm sure they'll give us what they think is the best view. And if it's that, then so be it. I don't think it will be, but I could be wrong. Thank you.
Any further questions? Yes, sorry. Councillor Summers.
Apologies if I missed it in the written part, but what happens with the old ones?
That's a good question. I don't actually know the answer. I'm going to guess and say we probably sell them because I can't see what else we would do. I'm not going to just scrap them. They're still working, so they'll have some value. So I presume we sell them, and like you would. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. This time it is Councillor Gowler. Please.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. How does this fit in with the proposed new food waste collections? Is this being taken into account when we're purchasing these vehicles? Apologies if that is somewhere in there and I've missed it. Thank you.
Yes, so that's a different policy which we have different income to deliver. So whilst the whole thing is tied together, this is for the 20 vehicles we have at the moment that we're looking to replace. Not talking about what we might need for the new delivery service, which we have separate streams and plans for, which we'll know a bit more in the next 2 or 3 months. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yeah, I just come back on the leasing part of it. We stopped leasing them not years ago because it's more cost effective to actually buy them. And also, when we buy them, we've got our own workshop, and our own workshop gets on with the job and gets it back out on the road straight away. Whereas if we lease them, they take them away from us for weeks on end and then bring it back later on when they think about it. But we can get it back on the road quickly, and that's the best way of doing it. That's the best way. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Appreciate that.
Any further questions? Councillor Miscandlin, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. I totally agree with everything that's said. On the point that Councillor Gerster made about getting a UK manufacturer, UK manufacturers are few and far between. So the chassis, the cab, and that probably come from abroad. A lot of them come from Ireland now, shipped into this country. But the manufacturing of the actual body of it is done in this country, and I hope it continues to do so. And Councillor Tierney is quite right. We've got to go out, look at what's available and get it. But hopefully, as Councillor Gerster said, it is British manufactured. The chassis might not be, and the cab might not be, and the engine might not be, but the bodywork is manufactured here, protecting UK jobs. So I fully support this.
Thank you. Councillor Tierney, would you like to sum up?
Nothing more to add. Thank you for all your comments, and I'm sure officers have heard those people who made suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. The detailed recommendations are on page 82 of the agenda pack. Are they agreed? No. Thank you. Item 11 is a proposal for Cabinet to consider revisions to the planning scheme of delegation and can be found at pages 87 to 90. I will now call upon Councillor Laws as portfolio holder for planning to present the report.
Thank you, Chair. The report is before Council following a request from the Planning Committee. Over the past year, officers have brought a number of enforcement reports to the committee. In every case, the committee has resolved to authorise prosecution. What has become clear from this pattern is that there is a strong consistency between the professional advice given and the decisions made by our Planning Committee. On that basis, it is considered proportionately and appropriate to delegate this function. Doing so will deliver several benefits. It will enable officers to act more swiftly in pursuing enforcement action where it is justified, avoiding unnecessary delay. It will also free up capacity within the enforcement team, allowing them to respond more effectively to suspected breaches of planning control across this district. Importantly, it will also allow the Planning Committee to concentrate on its core responsibilities of determining planning application, ensuring members' time is focused on the decisions where their judgment adds most value. The proposal is about improving efficiency, making best use of resources and strengthening our ability to deal with breaches of planning control in a timely and effective way, while allowing the committee to focus on their primary role. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Seconder, thank you. Mrs. French. Would you like to exercise your right to speak now or reserve? No, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I fully support this. This was the Planning Committee only a few weeks ago agreed or suggested that the head of planning actually look at this with the portfolio holder. The officer spent hours and hours writing these reports and probably delayed by several weeks. So, you know, I welcome this, and especially on the section 215s and 216s.
Thank you. The item is now open for debate. Councillor Hoy.
Yeah, I've got a few reservations about this, have to be honest. I mean, it goes sort of against what we've moved towards in licensing, which is more towards members having a say rather than officers. So I was a bit surprised to see this. I understand, obviously, the Planning Committee want this, and the Planning Committee kind of are the experts, I guess, but I'm unsure whether it's the committee that's the cause of the lack of 215s. I mean, we've got buildings all over Wisbech that could do with notices being served on them, and I don't think that's from lack of planning committee action, personally. So I do have some reservations. I suppose my question for Councillor Laws will be, how are we going to ensure consistency in approach? Because if you've got an officer deciding the enforcement process, how do we know how, in which way they're enforcing? Because some people may be being enforced against more than others. You know, how are we going to kind of monitor that, I suppose?
Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Hoy. Obviously, the reason is this has been put forward because we have looked at the appropriate planning actions that have taken place, and it's been consistent with our officer's recommendation. Most importantly is the fact of, I understand where you're coming from, that we do need to monitor consistency. Obviously, we have a planning enforcement team and they report into the head of planning. So these things will be monitored by the head of planning and also myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Booth.
Thank you, Chair. I will be supporting this motion, but I do agree with some sentiments of Councillor Hoy. The approach to enforcement in this district is not great. I think certain people know that and they take advantage of the situation. I think certainly as a sort of parish councillor, we are frustrated that enforcement action isn't taken when it should be. So I hope this leads to improvement in the service that's provided and enforcement action actually increases going forward. I think I asked a question a few years ago and was informed that only about 5% of enforcement inquiries ever resulted in enforcement action, which to me seemed quite low at the time. But yeah, if we're going to improve enforcement, then I support this.
Thank you. Councillor Tierney.
Yeah, I also have some reservations about it. It goes in the wrong direction for me to what I normally believe is right for local councils. However, I have huge faith in Councillor Laws, Councillor French, all the members of the planning committee. If they say this is what they want to do, then I will be supporting the motion because of that. But I hope that we can look at it in the not too distant future, see if it's actually working, and if it isn't, we can make changes accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bowden.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Comments made by Councillor Hoy and Councillor Tierney are quite correct. We have had a policy within this council over the last few years of deliberately moving towards more member control, whether we are talking about licensing or planning, and justifiably so, because we are the elected members, we are the ones who are responsible to the electorate. And this goes against that policy. But it is very limited in its scope. All we are talking about here is dealing with circumstances where enforcement notices have already been served and whether we move forwards from that to prosecution. So it's a very limited scope. And this is a case where practicality is more important than ideology, in my opinion. Whilst I do continue to support members having as much control over things as possible, sometimes, especially if an enforcement notice has already been served and has been ignored, sometimes you need the speed and the lack of bureaucracy which should be able to be engendered by having officers make the decision to move forwards on this. Both Councillors Hoy and Tierney are correct. We will need to watch this carefully. I know that Councillor Laws will certainly watch this carefully. If it turns out that it doesn't work as we expect, we can always change our mind in the future. But I have a lot of confidence in our officers, and I have every reason to believe that they will act appropriately and swiftly, more swiftly than we have in the past, in making sure that prosecutions take place when it's appropriate. Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Noaz.
Yeah, thank you. As a matter of principle, I prefer to be as much democratic oversight over such decisions as is possible, and particularly in cases where there may be implications for local communities. So for that reason, I do have reservations. However, for the moment, I would be supporting this motion with, reserving the rights to a review of this at a later stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions? Oh, Councillor Carney.
Just very briefly, reflecting on what Councillor Tierney said about revisiting it in this not too distant future, is it possible just to run this for a 12-month trial period?
Thank you. Councillor Laws?
Thank you, obviously, for the questions, and I can understand your reservations, but as the leader has just said, it's very limited. We need to obviously be aware that these actions are taking place. We need to act on them more quickly. But I would be very happy to look at this and bring it back in 12 months' time, if that's with members' agreement. Quite happy to do that. Thank you.
Councillor Booth.
Chair, would it not be appropriate just to, as part of the conclusion, amend it to say that an annual report should be presented to the planning committee to show the effectiveness of this? And then I think that would allay members' concerns. And if people are happy with that, I'll propose that.
I would be very happy for that proposal and suggestion. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Tierney.
Sorry, I agree with that, but rather than an annual report, which commits us to a report every year, a report in 12 months, I think we'll be fine, because by then we'll know whether it's working or not.
Councillor Bowles, would you like to sum up?
Nothing really more to sum up. Quite happy with that suggestion that we bring it back within the 12-month period and look at the review and the statistics from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The recommendation is on page 87 of the agenda pack and is for full council to note the report. Is that agreed?
Madam Chairman, would you just confirm the extent to which the motion as written has been amended?
Okay, thank you. So the recommendation is that that report will be brought before the planning committee. You, is that okay? No? Okay, Councillor Mrs. French.
To make this crystal clear, as you know, the planning committee is not in the habit of giving delegated powers away. But on this one, I think you're missing the point. This is to speed up the section 215s and 216s. It's not the actual enforcements, because officers have to write full reports, whether it's a 215 or 216. So let's make it crystal clear. It's very, very limited. We're just saving the planning department resources.
Thank you. Right, so the recommendation is on page 87 of the agenda pack and is for full council to note the report with the additional fact that the report will be taken to the planning committee to vote on. Is that agreed? And that will be in 12 months' time. Yep.
With respect, Madam Chairman, I think the suggestion was that there would be a report to the planning committee in 12 months' time.
A report to the planning committee in 12 months' time. Sorry. Is that understood now? Yep. Is that agreed? Yeah. Sorry. Record your dissension. Councillor Ross? Abstention. Okay. So we're not actually voting. Okay, as there is dissent, we will move to the vote. So all those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions?
Two abstentions.
So the result of the vote is that the motion is agreed. Thank you. Item 11 is a proposal for Cabinet to consider revisions to the planning scheme. Oh, sorry, they've just done that one. Beg your pardon, I'm not doing very well today. Right, agenda item 12. Member allowances. Item 12 of the agenda concerns proposed amendments to the members' allowance scheme and can be found at pages 91 to 94 of the agenda. I will now call upon Councillor Bowden to present the report.
I think, Madam Chairman, I just need to give Councillor Davis time to leave the room. Thank you, Madam Chairman. When the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority was set up, one of the rules within the documentation which set it up was that no payments may be made by the Combined Authority to any of the board members of the Combined Authority. And this was extended in practice, that the Combined Authority made no payments to any of the committee members who also served on the Combined Authority. And it was expected, it was quite explicitly expected, that the individual constituent authorities would make any payment that was required initially to board members, later to members of committees. We, along with all of the other constituent authorities, decided that that was quite unfair because of the burden that all committee members did have to face. There was a lot of work to be done in reading and attendance at those meetings. So all of the constituent authorities put the matter before their individual independent review panels, and they all came up with payments to be made to committee members. Those payments were different in every single council, but nevertheless that was the decision that was made. In June this year, as a result of a review by the CPCA's own independent review panel, it was decided that the CPCA would make payments and would be allowed to make payments, but only to members of the Overview and Scrutiny panel and the Audit and Governance Committee, not to any of the other committees. But the result of that was that for all of the members of those committees, both from Fenland District Council and from all of the other constituent authorities, those members were now getting two sets of payments, one from their own authority and the other from the CPCA. Now, it was felt, I think it's quite justifiably felt, that that was an untenable position. So we are here today to say, yes, it's correct that the individuals who are our representatives on the Overview and Scrutiny panel and the Audit and Governance Committee do receive a payment for that, but now that payment comes from the CPCA, so we should no longer give a second payment to the members for the same duties. And that is what this amendment is meant to achieve. Thank you very much indeed, Chairman.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Mrs. French. Would you like to speak now or reserve your right? Thank you. The item is now open for debate. Okay. Councillor Bowden, would you like to sum up?
Thank you. I wasn't really expecting any debate. It's a bit difficult to justify people getting paid twice for the same job. So thank you very much indeed, members, for that. And I encourage you to vote in favour of this motion.
The detailed recommendations are on page 91 of the agenda pack. Are they agreed? Yes. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this afternoon's meeting. I would like to thank you for your attendance and remind you that the next ordinary meeting of Full Council will take place on Monday, the 15th of December 2025 at 4 p.m. There will be an additional council meeting in November on a date yet to be confirmed.